to say welcome to you. My name is Dr. D in the place to be. I happen to be at my home school, the place that I helped found, the place where a lot of educators have started. I am in Dr. Dennis Lickey's office, who is my mentor and other people's as well. Shout out to Dennis, who is in his, who's moving on to some bigger things related to education. So just want to give a shout out to him. And I want to welcome everybody to our inaugural Big Picture Living Day. Consider this as your ultimate self-care day, where we share and introduce you to the 6 healthy habits of lifestyle medicine. It's a day to recognize that one's lifestyle is one's medicine. It's a way to, and what is this lifestyle? By lifestyle, we mean nutrition, we mean sleep, we mean de-stressing, healthy relationships, we mean movements, and we also mean just remaining cautious of substances. And so when focused and done right, these things become preventative. But when done wrong, or when not right, and not even done wrong, I want us to understand why we're doing this and why it's important. So allow me to read a statistic or two, and it won't be too many. But right now, obesity, high blood sugar, alcohol use, drug use are all contributing to a growing burden in our country. High blood pressure, high blood sugar, and high cholesterol right now in our country account for nearly 20% of total health loss worldwide, actually. That is 50% higher than in 1990, when it was 10%. So it's something to think about. Another thing to note, in our own country, it has been stated in some reports that no other area, when it comes to nutrition, of nutritional health probably is as abused by deception and misinformation as nutrition. And that relates to the food we eat. And lastly, more than 20 million Americans are currently diagnosed with diabetes, a tripling of cases since 1990. At this rate, the CDC predicts that 1 in 3 Americans will be diabetic by mid-century. That's not many years from now. It's 27 years. I do my math right. But that's 1 in 3 by mid-century. But I guarantee you, 3 out of 3 people think it won't be them. And so that's why we're doing this, because we need to raise awareness. We need to understand that this has trickled down into our youth, and it's affecting them. And the students that we think, and the people we think, who will be the 1 out of 3 in 2050? Be any of us, including the students in schools. So I'm here to just get those facts out here, but also to have you understand that we're all taking this seriously, and this is very serious, because everybody on this screen knows somebody who has been affected by ill health, by chronic diseases, and may not be on this earth anymore because of it, or had to fight a disease because of it. And because of that is why we said, let's bring out some students. Let's change this and address this issue. Let's look at what lifestyle medicine really is. And there is no better person to help us understand that than Dr. D, Dr. Marsha-Gail Davis. And Dr. Davis came, and she is here today to talk to us about it. And we'll get to her in 1 second. But before I do that, I have to make sure Lakia is in the building, because Lakia is going to help me make sure we are ready to move.
That's
Lakia,
right.
are you here?
Oh, I am here. I'm in the building. I'm excited. We've had so many workshops throughout the day related to BP living. So my energy is on 3,000.
That's what we love.
Yes. I'm ready. And I think that all of the statistics that you shared are so important. And I think that just really being able to focus on those 6 measures, specifically move, which is one of my favorites, being that I am a former ballet dancer and African, Caribbean, and I'll take it back. I could take it way back. So we wouldn't be big picture learning and living if we didn't kick this off with a pick-me-up. I mean, we wouldn't be BPL, right? And so we are going to start this off with something I call Dr. D. I got two Dr. D's on, but I'm gonna refer to Dr. Donique right now.
All right, let's rock.
To old school living.
We're just trying to keep you moving and grooving. And then we're going to keep this section moving and grooving. And we're going to really, if you don't know, I've mentioned it earlier, I'm one of the Dr. D's in the place to be, but there is a person who really helps us understand health and the importance of it. That's Dr. Marsha-Gail Davis. She is internationally known, which is why she is in Venice right now. So we do appreciate her being here with us and for us. And Tyson and Monique are the student co-hosts. So they're really going to take it from here. Tyson and Monique are people that help us with Big Picture Living. And Tyson, Monique, you ready?
All right. So hey, Dr. D. So last time we talked, we were talking about sleep and sleep habits, and we had an amazing discussion. I incorporated that into the recharge section of today. It was amazing. I talked about sleep habits. We had some people sleeping in the meditation room. I caught a little 5 minutes, you know, it was all good. It was amazing. So thank you for the knowledge you bestowed. But today we wanted to really discuss all 6 of the measures because, again, today is BP Living Day, and NFA West follows you on Instagram, and we saw that you are a wellness ambassador. Like everything, your whole page is just speaking on all measures of just what BP Living is. So we wanted to ask you a couple questions.
So just getting a grip of what you do outside of just talking to us, we've seen you for someone who actually takes the 6 measures and applies it to your everyday life. And you share it with everyone else. So I really admire you for that. So one of my questions was, how can you incorporate all 6 measures into your life and not lack on one? Or is there a way you can focus on all 6?
So I think the best way to really focus on tiny habits. And I think that people just, they kind of devalue how small steps can make such a difference. But think about it. How long did it take to build the wall of China, right? That's a huge wall that was built, right, over years, but it took one little brick that they put down every day. Or that question that they put out, you know, how do you eat an elephant? And they tell you one bite at a time. So I think there's a lot of power in tiny habits. And if we think about tiny habits and just commit to taking one step every day in the direction of our health, I think as we move forward, always thinking about progress and just taking one step every day, we'll see a huge difference, you know, in a matter of time. You may not see it with the first couple of steps, but when you look for, you know, a year from now compared to where you were, it's a huge difference. And that's what I try to promote on my Instagram, this idea of laying blocks every day. And if you just commit to one little block, that's all you got to do. And I have a message on that. I'll share it towards the end, but got a little message on tiny habits. So in musical form, let's just say that.
That actually, so when you talk about like time habits, or I personally find myself, you know, I'm trying to get out of habits that I have in one area. So for example, I'd say that time management is a big issue. So I, for example, want to work out, that's in the move measurement, or, you know, but I just don't have my time in the correct, I don't space out my time well. So I don't have enough time to do that move or that workout or do that walk across my neighborhood or whatever the case. So how would you say we can escape habits like that, habits that we could have like procrastinating or on our phones or things like that?
You know, and we can kind of apply the tiny habits piece. So let's say that you focus on one, not procrastinating on the phone. And I'm guilty of it too. I think we're all guilty of it at this point. Everyone's been on the phone and been like, oh, shoot, that's an hour that I just spent on social media or whatever the case. So I think one thing that can be helpful is putting timers on your phone. You know, there are different ways that you could set that up on your phone where you can actually activate this type of awareness, and your phone will send you a message 20 minutes that you've been on social media, so it alerts you, and then it's our job to actually follow that alert as a new habit. So you could say, you know, let me 3 days out of the week follow that alert, and that's like a small habit, you know, to commit to. Or you can say, let me spend 30 minutes instead of the hour and cut down that way. So it's not such a drastic, you know, sometimes when people stop, it's like it's hard and they jump right back into it. So I would say timers are really helpful. And you can commit to looking at certain things on social media because of the nature of how social media works. The way that it's designed is for continuous use with like no stopping point. So you can think, okay, I'm going to look at these 3 channels or these, you know, 3 pages on IG or on YouTube, and I'll commit to that. And that will be it. That's a way to kind of, you know, prevent yourself from falling into the trap of continuous scrolling.
So as you talk about like being able to set timers and all that, so can you use, is there apps out there that you have personally used for like tracking what you have doing, rather if that's like a fitness app or a diet app, even just like a time management app? Are there apps out there that you would recommend?
You know, there are so many apps and it's hard to, I mean, there's so many, like a new one comes out every day. So I don't have a specific recommendation for time management. For fitness, tracking exercise and nutrition, that's, you know, good old paper is actually still good. I know it's like, it's old school, but old school is good. And I'm even using like a diary and tracking every night. You could see, you know, I did this for the day. That's a useful tool. This kind of, let me see what I did for the day, assess or take inventory on my day, and then I can think about how I'll do something differently tomorrow. So that's just basic, easy way. And then My Fitness Pal is actually a good app that's pretty commonly used. It's completely free. So that's great. And that's recommended all across the board. It has all the features that you need to track well.
That's crazy because Tyson just said he used that on his nerd slide,
Yeah.
My Fitness Pal. So we did that today. When we talk about the 6 measures, when it comes to like move, recharge, chill, what would you say is the overall connection between all 6 of those measures? Like, what's the overall, just connecting relationship?
The way that I liken these building blocks is to a house. And your health, your body is your house. You live in there every day of your life, from the moment you're born until the last day you spend on the earth. So you want that house to be strong. You want that house to hold up to stresses. You want that house to hold up to storms. You want that house to protect you. You want to be inside of it and feel like everything's gonna be okay. So we actually have to take steps to protect that house, because that's the one little house we have. And if we think about it that way, it actually makes sense. So we can think of the building blocks as how we set the foundation for this house. And like anything else in nature, it requires a foundation to really work properly. So a house definitely requires a foundation. If that's not built on a foundation, there's no way that house is going to stand up to anything. So that's how I think about the building blocks. And I had a slide that I wanted to share. Danica, I sent a message just to see if you could maybe post. I don't know if it will work, but I just wanted to share just a couple of slides as a visual, just to.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
Help,
let me
you-
see.
You got it. Take the screen.
Perfect. Okay, so I pulled it up already. Let's see if it will pop up. If it's taking too long, I will abort shit, but okay. There we go. Got him. Here. Okay, you guys can see that? So this is it, right? It's really this concept of a house. And I like to think about it as actually having an order. And there's 6 pillars. The first row of this foundation that's of all of the building blocks includes stress management, nutrition, and movement. Now, look at which one is in the middle. Nutrition is in the middle. Why is that? Because nutrition is the cornerstone of all of the building blocks. It's the cornerstone to health. Why is that? Because nutrition is physiology, plain and simple. Literally, if you don't take in certain nutrients, your body does not function properly. And that is because nutrients, minerals, all these different important pieces to our cellular machinery only come from food, and they come mainly from plants. Here's an example. So every vitamin that we take in actually is like a little key in the process of enzymatic reactions. These are all reactions that happen in our cells to allow for our cells to function and work properly. So nutrition is so key, and it really is fuel. And as you can see, that little image describes a fuel tank. So, we can think of a car as another analogy. And if you don't put the right gas in your car, point blank, period, it's not going to function properly. You can even damage it as a result of putting the wrong gas in there. So that's the first thing. Stress management and movement. This is like the foundation. If you have all of those, like, you're pretty good, right? Movement is the glue. Stress management allows us to protect ourselves from the onslaught of stress, which actually kills. And that's why it's so important that stress management is a part of our blocks. And then you have sleep on top and social connections, because these are also very important. Not that they're less important, but they're on top of this foundation. They make a huge difference. Social connections are what humans are made to have. We are nurtured by love. Lastly, this top one is just awareness. And that is the fact that awareness is key. And that means awareness of what's going on with you physically, mentally, socially, spiritually. Once you have awareness, then you can make a different choice about how you live your life. Lack of awareness causes you to do things that are not making sense. They're not coinciding, right, with your body. You and your body are best friends. So you want to be in sync. And when you're not in sync, it's usually because the awareness is not there to realize, this is the better way for me to go.
Okay, so talking as if your body is the centerpiece of a table, or it's the house that has all the, without the nutrients, it wouldn't be able to stand up as the table or be the house that it is. And with that idea, I don't know how to put the question.
How can we live these, like, what does life like that so balanced look like for you? Like for you,
Yeah.
When I see you, I think that I see a woman that lives all 6 of the measures, just a balanced, you just have a lot of balance, it seems like. So how would you recommend we live that? I think that's the question we want to ask.
Exactly.
I think actually going back to the tiny habits, starting with one thing, because it can be a little overwhelming to be like, I'm going to change my whole life, today, but it is, that's what you're trying to do, is get in alignment with your body and yourself. All of that is coming back to the basics, coming back to balance. And that is a process. Just like everything else in nature, nature teaches us so much about how to do things. You realize nothing in nature just pops out of nowhere. You start with a little seedling, then it grows into this huge tree. You start with building the foundation, and then it gets built into this, house or a wall. So it's a process, and you want to start off with what seems to be impacting you the most. So maybe if you feel like, I'm really fatigued and I know that I'm not eating well, like off the bat, that's the first thing that comes to mind, then you can start there. And you could start with some small goals. I'm going to start eating a fruit every day. Instead of eating fruit here and there, 2 times a week, I'm gonna commit to eating at least 1 fruit a day. And then you get used to that small habit. You do that for maybe like 2 months or so, get it ingrained, because it's really easy to eat 1 fruit. It's a little harder to eat 10 fruits. And so you don't want to go from 0 to 60 that way. Once you get used to that, then you can think about something else. You could say, okay, well, I know my sleep is, struggling with that a little bit. So, let me try to get to bed 1 hour earlier than I usually do, as a way to kind of slowly get your body to where you want it to be. So the tiny habits piece is key, and focusing on what comes to your mind as the most pressing thing. Really just focusing on taking those small steps each and every day. And if you think about it that way, then it's manageable. It won't be overwhelming. And then you'll start to see the difference in how you feel, how you think, how your body's operating. When you're finding home inside. And that's your body's personality. It loves healing, it loves homeostasis, it loves to be in a place of balance, and you can know when you're getting to the right place.
Wow, because I definitely related to that, because I had to keep telling myself little by little in order for myself to obtain such a great opportunity at anything, even if it's just a homework assignment. So bringing it back to like my life in high school, how does these 6 measures apply to you when you were in high school, college, or even just medical school in general?
That's a great question. So I can tell you how things kind of started off. When I was in middle school, I think it was about middle school. My mom kind of started me on the health journey. So she's actually the one that kind of triggered this awareness. There we go. Awareness was the first thing that happened. And she started to cut out certain foods that we were eating. So we had immigrated from Jamaica some years before. And then what's interesting is that the culture, which I talk so much about, the impact of culture, how it affects us as humans. We're social beings. So we have that engagement with the environment and what's around us socially, physically. In Jamaica, we eat a lot of fresh fruits, fresh food. We don't eat a lot of processed. There's some, but not much. But shifting to culture in the US, there was more access to processed foods, things like soda and chips and that kind of thing. So we got into eating that a little more. And then I think she watched some documentary or something on CBS or the news or something. And she said, we gotta, we gotta cut it. Like, we're taking out all of these things. And she just was pretty swift with it. She was like, no more white bread. We're not bringing any more soda in the house, no more chips, and other snacky foods, are cutting that out. And so from there, I just thought to myself, well, I don't know, it was like this, this understanding of like, okay, so eating healthy is really important. And then I started preparing my lunch for myself early on, and I would pack fruit, and I would, make my own lunch. At the time I was still eating meat or fish. So I had tuna sandwiches with fruit and that kind of thing. So that was some of the nutrition part. And then I started to get a little bit more interested in plants, raw. I actually looked into raw before, but I said, I love hot food, so I can't do that all day. But that's most of what I'm trying to do. And then with exercise, I was already involved in sports. So that was something that I was interested in. And I was able to start getting into that as a practice from doing sports in high school. And then when I went to college, it became a part of what I did. And my mom was really good about that too. Unbeknownst to her, she started me on a really cool routine, which I still do with her to this day. And that is walking on the weekend for about an hour or two. We just go and we walk outside in nature, and it's the most relaxing thing. It's such a centering thing for me and her. It's very meditative. It's very grounding. It's very like, okay, ooh, you get to think, you get to just kind of move and meditate through movement. So that was a great thing. And those are just that was just examples of how I incorporated a couple of different things growing up.
So just to kind of cap off on it, why is this important to you? Like, what impact are you hoping to make by using your platform to share like health with other people and these 6 measures? What are you hoping to share with people? What's your message?
I think my message is really empowerment. I think that's what these pillars do. They give you power. There is power in prevention. There's power in protecting yourself, because ultimately that is self-love, to keep yourself in the as well as possible, because that is only going to help you be the best person that you can be. So all of it really comes back to power, empowerment, empowering yourself to take care of yourself, so that you can be excellent, be who you're supposed to be on this earth. And I think that once we get connected to that truth, then we can really see how the pillars allow us to blossom as people. And that's what living, that's what being a human is about, reaching that full potential. And that's exactly what I think it does. That's why I'm so passionate about it, because when you're in alignment with all of these pillars, your life is different. Your experience is different. It's beautiful. It's really enjoyable. There's something really deeply positive and satisfying, fulfilling about that.
That's very meaningful, because in our social media, in our everyday life, we don't see healthy foods getting promoted or healthy habits in general being promoted. Because you can go on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and you'll see people posting like them stuffing their faces with foods that are not enabling their body. It's just worsening and getting unhealthier as it goes on. So I really appreciate you sharing for today, and we would love to switch over to Dr. Dali. And do you have something to say?
Yeah,
No.
I want to thank you both, and I know stay on for a second, and we can hear you.
I just wanted to say thank you for always being there for us in the beginning and guiding us through BP Living, and helping us with Big Bang and everything. You were a really big part of at least me getting into big picture living. So I really appreciate it.
I want to say something similar to what Jasmine said. I think that you really lead by example. You are an example of what it is to live a healthy life. And not only do you lead by example, you bring people to the community that we have built here with BP Living, and have just shown a big amount of support throughout everything here, even when you're on campus. When we came in the room, you were so excited to see us, and that really something that I noticed and something I still appreciate. And I just want to say thank you for everything.
Coming up next, we want to hear from Clap. That's right, round of applause, and thank you both. Andrea, are you in the building? Good old Fable Vision.
Hi, I'm behind the scenes. Dr. Marsha-Gail Davis, okay. You've been here since this all started, and I want to thank you for everything that you've done for the students. As they said, you led by example, but also for encouraging me along this way with the stuff that we've created together. And I just thank you for your support and just everything that you bring to this community. I thank you.
Andrea.
And it's about awareness, because sometimes you got to forgive them, Father, because they know not what they do to us. And speaking of Father, we're going to bring in the Godfather, Elliot. Take it away.
I'm right here. I got my green behind me because they subbed me in for a San Diego Med graduation. You can hear the music in the background. So I'm doing 2 things at once, as usual or unusual. But Marsha-Gail, you're the best. And just like you're working with our students, and we cannot do this work without youth involved. And I've been talking till I'm blue in the face to physicians for a very long time, for decades, about trying to get young people involved in this movement. That's a social justice movement about their future and their youth and their families and their communities. And you stepped up. stepped up in the real kind of way. So everything to you about awards. I've known you for years. You've been committed to this, as well as your practice with physicians and community, but nobody remembers students the way you do as a physician. And I can say that as a fact, and we all love you for it, for what you're doing. So thank you so much. And more to come at Big Bang. We're waiting. So I got my green right here. As soon as I get done with this graduation, I'm turning back into green. That's all.
He doesn't mean the Hulk.
Elliot.
Thank you, Elliot. Now we're gonna take it on to NFA West. And
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Marsha-Gail Davis, for just supporting our school, supporting the network. Tyson and Monique are so impressed by you. They're inspired by you, and our student body is now inspired by you, just with everything you're sharing and just being a real powerhouse in terms of wellness. Just looking at your Instagram page, if you guys are not following her, follow her. I'm ready to start jumping rope. I'm ready to start really looking into some important topics that she brings up on her social media. So your ability to just make everyone aware of so many important issues related to health and wellness, I will treasure. And I honor you today. I give you your flowers today. And thank you so much for your commitment to this organization and NFA West.
Oh gosh, thank you so much.
thank you. And I will say a quick word. I didn't know I would have a friend who's a doctor. I didn't know I would have a colleague that would challenge me as an educator who's a doctor. I'm now working in the health field. I'm an educator, but I'm no longer just an educator, and it's partially because of you. You push us all, and I do appreciate it. This stuff is important. You know, too many people that didn't have this opportunity, so we want to continue to spread it, and we thank you for just being on the ground and being part of this foundation of our work. I'm gonna open it up to anybody, especially in the Big Picture crew, who might want to say a word or two, and then I'm gonna just let people know what's going on next. One quick thing, the podcast that the Tyson and Monique, Tyson and Monique, you're next, mentioned is a podcast that we just did on sleep. So I gotta do justice. Sorry, buddy. Tyson and Monique, y'all have the floor.
Thank you, Donnie.
Thank you. Take that mic off and say a word. Tyson and Monique, you got it.
So yeah, of course, Miss Key really just said it all, but I've learned so much since our podcast. You're just so empowering. Like there's no other word to describe you, but you're like a powerhouse. And I've learned so much from you. We both have. And it's been an honor just being able to ask the questions, be able to learn from you. And I'm going to be following you closely, you know, see what else I can learn in the future. So thank you.
Out of all the things that I've learned for you is your dedication to everyone is amazing. You look past the problems and you come up with the solution. You have taught us ways where what we're struggling with personally, you gave us ways where we can try things out, even if it might not work, but you still try to give us a way to push past it. And I really appreciate that, because sometimes just the thought of you caring enough to give a feedback and be able to join a call and taking time out your day is all that we need. So we really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You are simply outstanding. We have to represent Big Picture Learning, we have the one and only Dr. Andrew Frischman. You might want to say a word.
Oh yeah, just a couple of few words. Dr. Marsha-Gail Davis, such a pleasure. I'm so thrilled and excited about the way in which Big Picture Living has been growing. For folks who don't know, at our most recent Big Picture Learning board meeting, Dr. Marsha-Gail was installed as an official board member of Big Picture. You know, they say you should be really careful in the choice of your boss, and Carlos and I, and really the whole team at Big Picture, are so appreciative of your service and support and leadership. I also want to say that when at that board meeting, Dr. Marsha-Gail had a chance to introduce herself through sort of a version of a Who Am I project. And I will say that a number of the board members were not, some were quite familiar with you and your work, and some didn't really necessarily quite know, like, well, aren't we about education? Like, how come we're having somebody who comes with a medical background? And I think the way in which you described, I remember particularly the metaphor of sunflowers that you shared, and the way in which you connected just the health and well-being of young people and the necessity of that before learning can happen was just so powerful. And I think everyone walked out of that saying, oh yeah, this broadens out the scope of the way in which we need to think about young people's experience in big picture schools and beyond. So I thank you on behalf of that whole network. I thank you on behalf of all the folks in our organization. We're out here hydrating. We're out here repping our big picture living shirts, engaged in the outdoors. I see people out walking around, recharging and chilling, doing the whole thing. And just individually myself, I feel like you've caused me to think a bunch about the way I attend to those 6 measures as I've gone through, wonderful times and challenging times in my own life as well. So thank you. So much gratitude to you for the way you're shaping all of our work. And I'm grateful to Dr. Donique Dali and Elliot Washer for you making those connections. And we'll keep on rocking. We'll keep on living. Thank you.
Thank you.